Hey, it's Joe. I'm back. It's been a while. Hope everybody's doing well. Did you miss me? I took some time off, which I'll address in the next episode. We've had a lot of new listeners roll in over the last couple of months, so I just wanted to give you my contact info. My website is joeryan.com. All of my links to social media, contacts, recent interviews can be found at joeryan.com/links. You can find me at Instagram at Joe Ryan. If you want to support the podcast, it's joeryan.com/support. All the information you need, newsletter, YouTube, all of that fun stuff, you can find at my website, joeryan.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, head on over to Apple. You can give us a rating and review. That would be great. Also, an update on the coaching. Coaching is filling up pretty quick and spots are starting to become more limited. If you are interested in coaching, you can go to joeryan.com/coaching and set up a consultation to see if I'm the right fit for you. And other than that, I think that's all the info I can give you. Hope everybody's having a good summer, and we're going to roll into this next episode that's called What's Your Secret? All right. Enjoy. What's your secret? That's what I keep asking myself. What's your secret? What is below all of those layers that you have built up? What are you hiding down there? What is so terrible that you haven't been able to discover it? That your subconscious has buried it so far, and you have acted in ways, man, that you wish you could take back. The abuse that I have done to myself from whatever this secret is. I wish we didn't have to go through layers. I wish I could just go to the bottom and go, this is it, and work my way up. So we have to work from the top down. I don't think, I know emotionally, if I knew what my secret was at 17 or 25 or 30, I don't think emotionally I would have been able to handle it. That's why we have the layers. Emotionally, there's only so much we can handle because there's a processing time in between the layers. When I discover something humiliating, embarrassing, disturbing, it takes time for me to process that. It takes time for me to integrate that. It takes time for me to acknowledge and accept and start to figure out where that led me and why I've done things that I was compulsed to do. Like, as a rational human being sitting here now thinking about the way I have been throughout my life, it made sense at the time. It doesn't make sense now. I could never act and be those ways. But it takes time to grow to get here. There's an impatience with recovery. But there's really, truly, there are certain things in our path that only time can move. And when we start discovering things, there's a grieving process. See, when I discover something, there's a huge, I'm uncomfortable, I discover it, there's a huge sadness, there's remorse, and then there's grief. Like, I have to grieve that. And anybody who has experienced loss know there's no timetable on grief. It happens in its own time. Whether we want it to last longer or shorter, it does not matter. Your soul has its own timetable. You know, I used to hit this stuff really hard. I don't anymore in this way, but I would read everything I possibly could read on topics. I would listen to whatever I can get my ears wrapped around. I would write endlessly. The one thing I never did was live. See, I thought I had to have it all figured out before I could start living. And, you know, balance. People with trauma, we have no balance. We're either all out or all in. There's very little middle ground for us. So when I get all in on something, that's it. I have a narrow focus, and the rest of my life could be falling apart. Once somebody said to me, he goes, when this guy's in a project, the room could be on fire, and he wouldn't leave until he finished what he was doing. And that's kind of how I lived it. And I hit this stuff really hard, and I didn't have a life outside of it for a long time. It took me a while to get to the point where I was allowing the space to grieve. You know, you uncover something, and it can be addictive, where it's like, oh, I just figured this out. Okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? I got to get further. I got to get to the bottom. I want to start feeling good. When am I going to feel good? I got to keep doing this. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We have to pause and allow our conscious, subconscious, unconscious, our soul, every cell in our body, our brain, our being to become one in harmony with what we just discovered. And I am now, but I was never a patient man. I mean, impulsive, did not know how to delay gratification, no self-discipline. I was just an addict running from one place of not feeling bad to another. So it wasn't about feeling good. It was just about not feeling bad. I'm out of a lot of the self-hate and the pain and not being able to drag myself out of bed and, you know, fearing the thought of having to leave the house and interact with humans. I never want to go back there. And it's interesting because the further you get away from it, sometimes you're like, was that real? Because I haven't felt it in a while. And I know a lot of you are still struggling. And I read the emails, and you're really down on yourselves, and you're really hitting yourself hard. Make time to feed your soul. Make time, allow time and space for this to process. We don't have to know everything. It will heal itself when you make the discovery, when you uncover that layer, when it clicks for you. Allow it to be. It's a really painful place. Like, I don't know which is more painful, the moments leading up or the days or the weeks or the months leading up until you discover what that layer is, or the rawness, the vulnerability, the transparency after. I mean, they're two different kinds of pain. Allow yourself some grace, some space, some self-love, and some self-care. This is hard fucking work. Like, don't let anybody tell you it's not. If you're doing hard work, you also need to give yourself breaks. And our soul will figure it out. If we can sit with the feelings and get in there and start uncovering, once we get that moment where it all clicks and there's clarity and it makes sense, there's this big euphoric feeling. And we want to sit there forever. But then the processing starts, and we don't have to process it on our own. Some of it will process by itself. Give yourself some space as you're going through this. I never thought that I would ever get to a place where I felt okay. even for 5 minutes a day. It's a really good feeling. See, I know pain, I know hurt, like that shit's like a warm blanket for me. I can sit in that and just, use that as an excuse all day long. But when that goes away, there's a rebuilding process. And we get to rebuild ourselves the way we want to live. We just don't know what that is. We're all born, we're all raised, we're all programmed, we're all conditioned, fact of life. Some of us had better modeling than others. Some of us had really shitty modeling. Some of us had, subtle abuse. Some of us had real hardcore abuse. And whichever that was for you, you can heal. I don't know what self-love and self-care ever looked like. I thought it was bullshit, You need to love yourself. What is that? I've been beating myself up since DNA. I don't even know what that looks like. You get to find out what that is for you. And it's different for other people. I love taking a walk to Central Park, man, putting out a blanket and just laying, soaking up the sun for an hour or 2 or 3. I'm not doing anything. But that feels good to me. It's like this time out, this break in my day. Like everything goes away. It is a place of peace for me. I never had that. So I grew up in a place where I was always on guard. There was always chaos. As soon as things got peaceful, that was too quiet for most of the people in the house. And they had to create chaos because they couldn't deal with their own feelings. And that chaos rolls downhill. It was never a safe place. There wasn't a place of peace. And I grew up in a house, I never had a door on my room. My entire life I had no privacy. No wonder I have boundary issues. I didn't have a door I could close. So you find these peaceful places that make you feel good. It could be playing video games or pinball or fishing or hiking or crochet, whatever it is. Create peaceful space for yourself. Give yourself a break. What's interesting is I have tried to build a safe life, a safe world, a safe bubble. Where people didn't challenge me, where, I felt like I wasn't going to be betrayed or fucked over, and, there was a connection and a closeness with people. And that's really hard to find. I still have friends from when I'm 5, and it's amazing how those friendships are still as solid today. And they're few, I probably 2 that I feel that way with. But that's the world that I tried to create to counterbalance not having a safe world at home. And that's a good thing to do. But what we want to do is we want to create that safe world within ourselves. That you can be put in, within limits, any kind of situation, and you feel safe within yourself. So when we're raised, the job as a parent is to get a child ready to get out in the world. What a lot of parents do is they take that child emotionally hostage and say, without saying, you need to take care of my feelings, and you can never leave me emotionally, and this kid doesn't have a life. It's a safe world in the sense that it's predictable. Unpredictably predictable. We have to create that predictability within ourselves. We have to learn our reactions and our emotions and why we react in certain situations so we can build this safe world within our own being. To lower that nervous system down to the point where you could actually think and feel and be, and not just react or be hypervigilant or be on guard. Find that safe place for you and spend time there alone with yourself. Get to know who you are. We don't spend time with people we don't like, usually. We don't choose to. You know, family may be a different scenario where we have to spend time with them, even if we don't want to, but we don't choose friends we don't like. And if we don't like ourselves, we're not going to want to spend time with us. And this is crucial in recovery, spending time with yourself, getting to know how your body reacts, how your emotions react, to start paying attention to them. When I feel resistance, I need to pay attention. See, what I used to do was, I felt resistance to everything because I was just so based in fear that I would just kind of tighten up real tense and somehow plow through it. And I'd be like, oh, thank God this event's over. I can go home and collapse for 2 days and recapture my energy. When we start to create that safe place inside of us, when we start to feel safe within our own feelings, within our own emotions, we can start going out to different places that we're usually not comfortable, and we start to surprise ourselves. See, I'm looking at the world going, all right, I'm in this room, there's 3 people, let me get the feel, let me get the vibe, and who do they need me to be? Okay, action. And I become who I think people want me to be so that I feel safe, because that's what I've always done. You can show up as you. We don't have to have it figured out before we start living. In fact, you have to start living to figure it out. I can't read it, listen to it, write it, and think I'm going to get it. I have to get out there and live and have balance. Like, I have serious intimacy issues. Like, intimacy, I crave it like you would not believe, and I fear it almost as much. How can I work on intimacy issues sitting alone by myself, reading, writing, listening? I can't. The only way for me to work on my intimacy issues is to start being more intimate with people. And I don't mean take your clothes off and jump into bed. I mean just have conversations with strangers. A common courtesy and a politeness. Start to build your confidence with humans. See, I've always been a people pleaser, nice guy. And I've always gotten fucked over for it. So I retreated, I withdrew, I put up walls, and I was very selective with where I went. Because I didn't know how to be me and have boundaries and stay protected. And that's what I'm learning, and that's what we do. We start interacting as us. We show up as us. If I'm not feeling good, if I'm feeling insecure, if I'm feeling confident, if I feel like I'm looking good, if I feel like I'm looking shitty, doesn't matter. We show up how we are, and we get comfortable with that. See, I'm only allowed to show you happy. I'm only allowed to show you nice. I'm only allowed to be helpful. I can't be needy. I can't be sad. I can't be mean. Because that triggers a ton of shameful feelings. Learning how to go to the store in a shitty mood and not caring what people think is part of being intimate with humans, because I'm being real and I'm being genuine and I'm being how I feel. See, the lack of intimacy is me feeling like shit and going out and pretending I'm not feeling bad. Pay attention to your feelings, pay attention to your reactions, and take a break from the work. I know a lot of you are hurting and suffering, and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it may take some time for you to see it. But if you didn't think you were worth it, you would have gave this up, and you would have went a different path. Invest in yourself. Find out what secrets you're hiding from yourself. Find out things you don't like about yourself, and learn how to love them. First is finding out what they are. Then it's sitting with the shame and the guilt and the humiliation. And then it's slowly starting to accept it, because you realize based on your circumstances you probably didn't have a choice. And then you start to own it. So I can go out and somebody can go, "You're a miserable fuck right now." Yes, I am. Thank you for noticing. Where at one point in my life, that would have devastated me. Because that wasn't allowed where it came from. You're allowed your entire range of emotions. And you were the only person who was going to give yourself permission to feel them, express them, show them, and allow them to be part of your being. Nobody's going to come along and hold your hand and walk you through this. You have to do it. You have to take yourself by your hand and walk yourself through the fear and through the emotions. And I promise you, it will get better. It will get easier. When you come out of the pain and the hurt and you surface and you feel like you can finally fucking breathe for the first time in your life, it's like you've been underwater forever. And you get to the surface and you look around and all you see is this vast ocean and you're like, oh shit, what now? That's the interesting part. Because then we can discover who we are without all that shit we've been carrying our entire lives. Thanks for listening. You can contact me at joeryan.com. Follow me on Instagram at joeryan. And if you want, you can leave us a review on iTunes. That'd be great. All right, take care.